With all the companies out there, and there are so many besides network marketing, right? Even outside of network marketing, companies selling
Absolutely.
shakes and different types of products to help us cleanse, etc. How come you chose Isagenix?
Yeah, so I had been doing some research in my laboratory and was discovering that there was some amazing results from the lifestyle strategies that I was having my study participants engage in. They were maintaining and even increasing their lean muscle mass. We call it the lean body mass. So it includes your muscles, it includes your vital organs, your bones, your brain. So think of all your vital organs, your heart, your kidney, your pancreas, your liver, your gut microbiome. Those are all your vital organs. That's your lean body mass. And what I started to discover, and that's the number one body composition compartment that we want to make sure we never compromise. We hold on to that throughout our age span. We know it's associated with the highest levels of health. You know, if you look at the blue zones, if you've read anything or seen any of the specials on the blue zones, you'll notice that there's one defining characteristic, and that is they're all very physically active. They either climb hills or they're out working in gardens. They're lifting heavy loads. So they're maintaining their muscle mass. That's one of the most critical components, because once our muscle mass and our lean body mass begins to decline, disease and unhealth sets in. And so what I started to discover was that if I just changed one macronutrient and provided it to our bodies in a timely fashion, and that nutrient, by the way, is protein, and I provided it in timed intervals throughout the day, every 3.5 or 4 hours throughout the day, these test subjects, regardless of whether they were doing any exercise at all. In fact, in some studies, I made sure that they did no additional exercise other than just maintaining a general low level of movement, walking, but nothing strenuous. And what I was able to observe was that they were able to hold on to their muscle mass. So what ended up happening, I published a study, and Isagenix approached me and they said, hey, we noticed that you did this study, you've been doing these studies and finding these results. Would you be interested in, looking at our product line? And I said, well, I get those offers often. So I did my due diligence. I looked at it. They had a couple of preliminary papers that were published. And I said, well, let me give it a shot. So I said, would you be willing to allow me to do the research? You do not have first right of refusal. That means they can't reject the publishing of the study if the results weren't good. I do that with all the funding agencies I work with. I say, you have no ability to tell me I can't publish, regardless of what I find. Isagenix, when they responded back, I was actually floored. They said, oh, we would never intervene. I thought, whoa, most of the funding agencies want to, go back and forth a little bit and say, well, can we at least look at the data, blah, blah, blah. You sure that we can't tell you not to publish? I mean, that happens all the time. Isagenix was like, oh, of course not. We have no interest in, interfering and intervening with the research that you're doing. So that was one, again, huge check for me to say, this is a company that's operating at a different standard. And so what I did was I conducted the study. Make a long story short, the results were literally groundbreaking. They were off the charts of what I had shown up until that point. So I had shown some pretty favorable results up until that point, if you go back and look at my published research. But when I did the study on protein pacing and intermittent fasting, nutritional fasting, using the Isagenix products, it took the magnitude of improvement in their lean body mass, in their reduction in total body fat, and especially their visceral fat. That's fat around our central organs that we don't want because it is linked with many diseases: cardiovascular disease, heart disease, metabolic disease, diabetes, certain cancers, inflammatory states. And what I found was alarming, to be honest with you. In fact, I remember talking to my research team and saying, I want you to go back and really check this data over, because these findings are compelling. I mean, they're almost startling. And when we went back and double, triple, quadruple checked the data, indeed, when these people were incorporating the high quality Isagenix products into the protein pacing and intermittent nutritional fasting, the results were off the chart. So their body composition improved drastically, maintenance and improvement in their proportion of lean muscle mass and body mass, a reduction in their total body fat and visceral fat, their insulin level and glucose, that's an indication of diabetes, plummeted. Heart disease markers, their blood pressure, blood lipids plummeted. Markers of inflammation and toxicity changed drastically for the better. And we have some pretty sophisticated, as you can see behind me, laboratory techniques that we can actually measure the health of the blood vessel. So as we age, our blood vessels get very rigid and stiff, and that's a hallmark sign of aging. Whereas with longevity, people that live a long time, very healthy, their blood vessels have a remarkable ability to continue to be very elastic. And so what we found in these people in just 12 weeks, by the way, their blood vessels were very rigid at the beginning, and at the end of the 12 weeks of following the Isagenix protein pacing and intermittent nutritional fasting, their blood vessels increased in their elasticity by over 25%, 25%. So yeah, I mean, the results speak for themselves. And that set me on a journey because I was intrigued. I was thinking, my God, after 30 years of doing this type of research, to have evidence, scientific evidence of this level of health improvement, I was fascinated. I was hooked. And so that put me on a path and a journey to really examine the Isagenix system in much more detail. And I've subsequently conducted several, gosh, I don't know how many now, 4 or 5 other studies, because I was so intrigued to see how these systems were working. So we have some really exciting data that improves your health. And if you've noticed, Lisa, one thing that I haven't even mentioned is weight loss. We don't look at weight loss. It's not one of, I mean, we do measure it. I shouldn't say we don't look at it. We do look at it, but it's a total secondary side effect. And what's been so, I can't, for lack of a better word, what has been so amazing is that in every one of these studies I've conducted, weight loss has been off the charts. They've lost in 12 weeks, 25 pounds. In some cases, we've had some individuals that have lost in let's see, that's 90 days, they've lost over 100 pounds. Now, they've started at a higher level, but still, that's almost a pound a day. In fact, in one individual, it was a pound a day. Now, for those of you on the call, you're probably shaking your head saying, oh, that is not healthy. Actually, nothing is further from the truth. There is the highest quality research that's coming out of the finest research institutions in the world that show very, very clearly that people who lose weight the fastest in the healthy way by losing their fat mass and their visceral fat and hold on to their lean muscle mass actually are the most likely to keep the weight off long term. I'll say it again. People who lose weight the fastest, doing it the healthiest, end up keeping the weight off for the longest period of time. They don't have what's called weight recidivism, meaning a returning back to their previous weight and even increasing their starting weight, their initial weight. That's called the yo-yo cycling of weight gain. So I want to dispel that misconception, that myth that losing weight fast is unhealthy because you'll put it on faster. That's simply not true. If you do it the correct way, which is what what Isagenix provides and my research supports, is that you can lose weight extremely fast, and then that facilitates, augments, and helps you maintain that weight loss for into history. And what that all comes down to is that what we're really showing in this research, Lisa, which I think is really revealing and telling, is that the congruency of a person's lifespan is now matching their health span. And if you've not heard those two terms before, a lifespan is somebody's age in years chronologically. So how long they live in the number of years and days. Health span is the number of days and years and days that a person lives with health, optimal health. And so what we're doing is most people are living longer, but living very unhealthy. Their health span drops off after the age of 40. And so those two lines, if you follow them on on a graph, you'll see lifespan continues, but health span after the age of 40 begins to show this precipitous decrease and decline. And that's unfortunate because that's the quality of people's lives. That's their ability to play with their grandkids. I mean, nothing will make me more happy than being able to engage in the highest level of vitality with my grandkids that are starting to come into my life. And so I want to do that for everybody else. I don't want to be selfish and enjoy it alone. I don't want them to be selfish and only have me to be able to play with. Let's get all the, grandmas and grandparents, playing with their grandkids and great grandkids. But no, I say that a little bit with a tongue in cheek, but that is ultimately what we're all striving for, is matching our lifespan with our health span. And right now, at least in the modern world, we're extending people's lifespan at the same time their health span is continuing to plummet. And I'm talking about even in the healthcare system. And I have more to say about that, but we're not doing a very good job of keeping a person's health span in line with their lifespan, even when they're intervening through traditional medical intervention, medical therapies. Those are failing miserably. I associate and communicate with physicians and doctors of all types all the time, every day, and they support everything I say. There's no denying that. They themselves know that once you begin to introduce many of the traditional Western medicines of pharmaceutical drugs, health span declines.